Hi guys, welcome back to Spilling the Tea podcast, episode 33 with your favorite hosts, Kiki
and Haylin. We're back.
Period. Fit check time. Jeans, warehouse. Where's your pants from?
Aloe.
Love it. My shirt, it's a cruel world, but it's cool. I think it's from Amazon. Where's your shirt from?
Aloe.
Period. She said, not sponsored by Aloe.
Right. This
What about
jacket's
this?
from your closet.
Love it. And this is from my sister's closet. And then my hair, of course, I grew it myself, and so did hers. Girl, it's been a minute. It's actually been way too long. Welcome back to the hot seat. How are you?
Well, we are going to learn how to stay cool in a burning world. Is that what it's called?
Yes. How to stay cool in a world of fire.
World on fire. Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes it feels like that, especially recently.
With the new administration and everything going on. I feel like I literally feel it everywhere. When I go to work, when I go on Facebook, social media. I don't even know where to go anymore these days.
Don't go on there. Just turn it off.
It's hard not to, but I'm really trying to stay grounded through it all. But how about you? I know that it's been crazy.
Yeah, we've had a lot of events recently. We provided testimony for
For those
gender
that didn't
affirming care.
see Haylin's testimony on gender affirming care, that was a little brutal in the comments, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of death threats and just so much hate out there. But we should do an episode on the misinformation, because there's a lot of misinformation about that. So
I agree.
We'll do that, okay.
I agree.
But yeah, I think a lot of the kids and ourselves, even the adults, it's very frightening, terrifying right now.
What?
How are you feeling?
I am feeling, I would say I'm kind of neutral. So if there's something that, if there's a skill that I really have, is that I can look, or I can, find the positive even in the chaos. So I do have to highlight that strength of mine, but it's not always like that, especially at the cafe. I think that the kids are feeling very overwhelmed, very anxious, really sad, very hopeless. What about you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's been, up and down. I think that we have better days than others, but as a therapist, it's really easy to, it's not easy, but we're reminded that the reason we're feeling super anxious and
angry too.
And angry is because we are feeling threatened, or we have perceived threats that are going on, like to people's livelihood or to people's existence, right? Or people's rights. And so we want to stay grounded in reality that we haven't gone anywhere, right? We still have community. There's not a law that has done anything yet, but I also don't want to gaslight the audience and all of our kids that, everything's just going to be fine, because around the US there has been a lot of heartbreaking things going on, and there's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons why everything feels like it's on fire, it's because one of our youth has said in the past, tragedy does sells more. And we know that the algorithm, especially Meta Girl, everything that they push out is just very anti-LGBTQIA, the community that we're trying to build. And it's easier for us to read all of the negative, right? Forgetting about all of the amazing things that are still happening in the community. So I think that's one of the reasons why everything feels like it's on fire.
And it puts us into fight or flight. Do you know what that is?
I actually experienced that a lot, or used to, not anymore, but when I used to fly, I would just go into this fight or flight mode.
Right.
And for me, it's more like fight mode, you know?
Yeah. For every person, it might be different, but just recognizing your own default settings, are you a person that freezes up or runs away, fight, fawn, those kind of things. But we do, not to go super nerdy on you, but there is a part of your brain that's the prefrontal cortex that allows you to override that and have executive functioning and make, complex decisions. But the back part of your brain, which is the amygdala, once it goes off, everything shuts down, right? And so this is what's happening when we hear all these things, and it just puts us into fight or flight. It's really important to be able to ground and understand that you're safe. And how do you do that, I guess, in terms of what you do personally? There's so many grounding techniques, and I think that we should share them today.
Yeah, so I know that when I am really stressed out at work, for example, and this may be helpful for the kids that are at school, I would just grab a notebook and either journal or even just like scrub on it, right? I also really, really like braiding my hair, and I think it's because I want to feel something and distract my brain because to my understanding, the fight and flight mode, it comes from your brain not understanding the difference between a real threat, right, and high stress. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think there are times where it's an actual threat, but there's a lot of times where it's a perceived threat and we're not really grounded in reality in terms of what's happening. Am I safe? And I think that fear can really overtake us.
What would you tell the kids that are going into this fight or flight mode when they're at home, right? They are a part of the LGBTQIA community and their parents are extreme conservative, extreme Republicans, and they're constantly feeling invalidated. Like, I feel like they kind of are stuck in a cage, right? Especially when they have to go to school. Go back home after school, right? They don't have anywhere to go. What do you think they can do?
I don't know if they're stuck in a cage. I wouldn't
No, but
describe it that way.
It feels like that.
Oh, like they feel suffocated?
Yeah,
They
it
feel
feels like that because
yeah.
they have to go home after school hours. The cafe is closed. They have nowhere to go. And it may feel like they're trapped.
I see. Yeah, I do hear kids saying that, and it's important that you have an outlet. Like you said, like a lot of kids do art or they draw or they're able to express themselves in a safe space. But safety is number one. And so I want to remind all the youth out there that if you need to do what you have to do to stay safe, please do that. And if your parents are open to hearing your perspective, I think family therapy is always a good choice. But again, only if you're safe with your family.
I really like family therapy because, growing up, I used to think that, oh my God, therapy, like I'm too young, whatever, I don't need it. But I feel like shout out to my parents, they're amazing. And if we would have gone to therapy when I was a kid, I feel like I would have been able to communicate with my parents a lot more effective, right? Because it just provides that safe space where, we're having a respectful conversation and it's still being guided by a professional, So I do love family therapy and I love that we're able to, provide one of those services here.
And you don't have to feel bad if you don't have those skills because family therapy also teaches you those skills because a lot of us, including myself, didn't grow up in a family where we were talking about our emotions or we were learning how to repair or we were learning how to do healthy conflict resolution. And so you kind of practice that, even though it might feel foreign in the beginning. And so I do always shout out parents who are willing and open to try out family therapy. But sometimes we're in a space where we're feeling like we're going to have a panic attack or we're in a space where we just cannot calm ourselves down. And in those kind of moments, to get out of that spiral, it's important to do things like box breathing, which is like breathing in and then holding it for 4 or 6 seconds and then exhaling, right, for 4 to 6 seconds. Just being able to do that in a box. So you breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in, hold. Yeah. If you do that, then you can try to like regulate. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique.
Yes, it's 5 things you see.
Right.
4 things you
can touch. It's just basically all of your senses. And you're practicing like from the easiest thing to the hardest thing. And so it's really like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, smell, and then taste, so that you are purposefully distracting yourself off of the trigger or the thing that's making you feel like you're in fight or flight. But I even taught my son that, like when he's playing football or whatever, like if he's feeling overwhelmed or
frustrated
angry,
because he may not be winning, he may not be having a great day performing, right? You have the stress of your parents are watching you, you have the coach yelling at you. So I know that even on extracurricular activities, it can actually feel like the world is on fire.
And when we work with the physicians too, on the other side, like they also are doing that. Like if there's a very high stress situation, or I know that like Marines are trained in this type of breathing. So it's important to practice. Sometimes people are not willing to do it, but if you practice it, you definitely will get better at just regulating yourself and being able to choose like a different behavior. Because we all want to fight, but we have to fight in a way that is authentic to ourselves. And right now, like you might choose not to fight because you're not safe, and we completely support that and understand that, right? And at the same time,
when we say fight, we don't literally mean the word like physically fighting, right?
We just mean like not giving up and not giving in to the hate or the bullying. And I think it's really important for people to try to rise above like the hate and understand where these people are coming from and where these perspectives are coming from. Actually, Matt taught me this a lot, where it's like, when you care about someone and it's close to home, that's the only time you're gonna care about something. So to expect everyone to care about gay youth or trans youth, it's really unrealistic. But how can we at least still have respect for each other, and how can we, when they isolate us and they divide us, it's easier to like really silence us. So it's important that we all come together and then share that same aloha that we always try to preach about.
And that's kind of true, because I mean, when I look back, because it's so personal to me, and I know that for you too, I get so defensive when I read all of like this insane comments, or when I have people close to me that are not being supportive, right? I get very, very upset and angry. And again, I don't physically want to fight, but I can start an argument really quickly, because I know and I see firsthand what happens when a kiddo doesn't have the support that they need, right? And I do want to say, like Haylin was saying earlier, even at times where you don't have the energy to fight, all you have to do is just come to Spill a Tea Cafe, right? We are building a community where we will advocate for you. We will have your back. I know that in the last few weeks, it has been feeling very, draining, and it is hard for you to get up every morning and, walk into a world that's saying, hey, you should be erased, you should not belong here. And I want to emphasize that you belong, you deserve to be here, and we just need you to hang in there, because I promise to you that it might feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it does get better. And we're here for you to support you along the way.
And you don't have to fight like every single battle. You don't have to fight this kid at school and then this person on TV. Like, we want you to just turn that off and then focus on what will make you happy.
And I think another thing, one of my therapists, not my therapist, our therapist at Spill the Tea Cafe, shout out Brittany if you're watching this, but I know that she herself, she was having a really hard time with everything that's going on, the political uncertainty, and she was like, you know what, I'm just gonna unplug, right? Yeah. So also unplugging and setting those boundaries, like, it's okay to mute certain conversations or certain hashtags or unfollow people, right? Because if it doesn't benefit you and if it doesn't impact you in a positive way, it is okay to disconnect, because it can also become like a cancer that just spreads. And yeah. Yeah,
I think rest is part of resistance, and rest is like part of the movement, because, I mean, we should practice what we preach, but we've been, I'll be transparent. Like, it's been really rough, and I think we've been burning out the past couple months, just with the increase in patients and calls and all of it. And so just being able to remind and model for everyone that, like, it's okay to rest. It's okay to, in fact, over spring break, we need to take a break. And if you focus on maybe just one thing that you want to advocate for, right? You don't need to advocate for every single thing. So if you're a parent or if you're a teacher, feel fulfilled in just picking one focus area and or like maybe just helping one kid, right? Like, it's just so overwhelming, and I don't want all of us to feel like we're losing hope. So these are just some tips or some concrete tips that we can take away of how to advocate. And
I also think that, for those parents and educators that may be watching this, they're like, oh my God, but this is all super helpful information, but how can I even start talking to my kid about it? Just start it yourself. Start it yourself and practicing that so that your kid can see you, right? Model that for them. Do it out loud so that they can follow. Again, like Haylin has said multiple times, lead in a way that they want to follow, right? But yeah, super amazing tips. I wish that every single classroom had like a little, if you have anxiety, do like all these techniques, right? And have like the 5 what to do when you have anxiety. But Yeah, and moving on to advocacy. You know, I
Oh
know
wait,
you were
before you go
talking-
there,
yes.
if you have younger kids, like say elementary, right, and you're not able to like really describe, or they don't have that verbal language for like the box breathing or progressive muscle relaxation or changing the temperature of the body. If you have little kids, you can teach them smell the flower through your nose and then
Yes.
blow the candle through your mouth, and just repeating that helps kids regulate in the moment when they're feeling distressed. You can also draw like a stick person and you ask them like when they get angry, where do they feel it in their body, and they can color it, you know. So just age appropriate ways to help your kids regulate is also a good idea. And I think just loving yourself and loving your kids, loving your family, this is the best thing that you can do right now.
And also for the parents, I do want to say that I know it can get very overwhelming when you're seeing your kid so frustrated and not being able to regulate their emotions, but just cut them some slack because they're also learning as they go. Like, they were not born into this world with a manual of instructions, right? And same goes to the kids. Be patient with your parent. Your parent is also learning how to be a parent for the first time, right? And if your youngest kid or you have other siblings, they are trying their best. I promise that to you. But moving on to advocacy, I know that it can be very difficult to have a balance in between advocacy and mental health, because to what extent do you draw the line, right? Like, for example, I mean, what you just experienced, I mean, you were having death threats and people calling you a monster and all kind of stuff when you provided testimony, because to me, that felt like the world was literally on fire.
Yeah, I didn't realize that post was gonna.
I didn't think it was gonna go that viral. Good engagement though.
But I do feel called on not just, I guess, my kid, but there's a lot of kids at the cafe and across this nation who don't have a voice. And, you know, I'm privileged, I'm cisgender, straight, like I have to use that privilege. And not everyone has to advocate this way. And I don't think that this work chose me. I mean, I don't think I chose this work. I definitely think this work chose me. But at this point, it's important for me to have a voice. I do have mental health expertise. I do have a child in this community. And we also have 600 kids at the cafe. And so if I don't speak up, like I just feel that that is my kuleana to speak up on behalf of these kids, and even for the parents, right? To know that I also was a parent that was very unsupportive. I completely rejected my kid when they came out, and the fact that I was able to transform and get my own type of therapy and education, I think it really shows that families can heal together. And I didn't need to sacrifice like that genuine, authentic relationship with my kid. And so at the end of the day, like, as long as me and my kid are good, that's what matters.
Literally, the world can burn.
Yeah, and so we have to continue to fight, but in whatever way feels good for us. And right, like I think I said this on a different episode, but I can't actually get arrested though. So you know, there's whatever you feel like you want to do. Kiki, I know like you play with the kids a lot at the cafe,
and like
board
that's another
games
thing.
and like, cards and puzzles. Like that's your way, right?
Yeah, and you know, when I am seeing all these people, right, saying all these horrendous stuff about, you know, a co-founder talking so nasty about the kids, and I do want to say just very quickly, even though it may sound like, oh my God, 600 kids in 2.5 years, it's a lot. Like, that's not a lot. Like, we're actually just scratching the surface.
Exactly.
Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more kids in the state of Hawaii that need these essential services that it's crucial that we as a community come together to keep places like this alive. But anyway, on what I was going to talk about, I think that, you know, I really needed to refocus when I was reading those hate comments and understand that I need to pick an area where I'm going to focus, right? What did I do? I said, okay, well, I'm not going to pick that fight. I'm not going to choose that battle. I'm going to go back to the cafe. I'm going to engage with the teens. We're going to create puzzle, play games, right? Watch a movie, because that fulfills me and also creates a real impact. And I also think that, right, setting realistic engagement, again, just muting what no longer serves you, removing yourself from friend groups that don't align with your values. I think it's very important. And, just sometimes taking a step back doesn't mean that you're giving up, right?
Right.
It just sometimes means that you're recharging so that you can actually show up fully recharged. Because or else you're going to be burnt out, girl.
We know a little bit about that.
Only a little bit.
But to recap, so when you're feeling like the world is on fire, how can you stay grounded? How can you stay calm? You can practice actual interventions like journaling, like listening to music, doing box breathing. You can also advocate in a way that is meaningful to you. What else, Case?
I think that, of course, get involved with your community, people that support you, like we've said before, people that feel like sunshine. And also remember that every movement was built on consistency, not urgency. So just know that baby steps means that you're moving forward, right? And
that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
No matter how much hate and how hard it's been, I think it's harder than I ever thought it was gonna be.
We need like a whole reality show on that. The Kardashians better watch out because honestly, we try to keep it real, but I just wish you guys understood that as we are talking how to stay cool in a world on fire, I feel like we have been walking on fire for the last 2.5 years just with buckets of water, water there, let's walk ahead. It's definitely been challenging, but at the same time, it's really rewarding.
Really rewarding, and I think that kind of modeling, and even though there is a risk involved in this kind of startup nonprofit business, I hope that people can see that we are trying to advocate and do our best in a way that allows us to still be fulfilled and not burn out. And so we couldn't do this work if we didn't love it. And at the same time, there's too many people in the healthcare industry who are burning out and who are, having mental health issues of their own. And so it's super important to protect your mental health at all costs, love yourself, make sure that you rest as your resistance and that you refuel and recharge because we got another 4 years of this, y'all. So.
And also, I just want you guys to know that if you're feeling the weight of, everything, right, on your shoulders, just know that you can care deeply and also do self-care for yourself because, we've said multiple times in the past, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So in order for you to save others, you need to make sure you're saving yourself first. And if there are days where, again, you can get out of bed or you can get off the ground, just, call us. We're here for you. We're going to meet you where you're at. But I would love to hear what you guys do to manage your stress and to manage your anxiety. So if you just want to leave it in the comments, I'll really appreciate it. We'll be reading those, and we'll see you next time.